and Thrive, and welcome to week 5 of this series all about God's promises. My name is Miss Christine, and I'm so glad that you pressed play so that you can learn about Jesus with me. Let me ask you a question. Do you ever get super impatient waiting for something good to happen? Maybe you get so excited to open your presents on Christmas morning that you can't sleep the night before. Or maybe you just get really bored of waiting in line at the grocery store because it feels like you've been waiting forever. When was the longest you ever had to wait for something? I want you to think about that today. For me, I remember the time when I was a kid that my parents told me and my siblings that we were going to go on a big trip to Guatemala. Guatemala is a country in Central America, and we were going to be able to go with our whole family one Christmas. We were so excited. The problem? The trip wasn't until next year. We had to wait a whole year to actually go on that trip, and there were times when it was really hard to be patient. But we knew that our parents made a promise, and our parents didn't break their promise. So even though it was hard, we trusted and waited and eventually got to go to Guatemala. The trip was worth the wait. But do you know who is even better at keeping promises than parents? That's right. God. God always keeps his promises. That reminds me of who we are learning about this week from the Bible. We are learning about Joseph. He had to wait a long time to see God's promises fulfilled. Do you remember Joseph? Last week we talked about how Joseph had lots of dreams about his brothers bowing down to him. His dreams showed him a really great future. But do you remember what happened to him because of those dreams? His brothers threw him in a well and then sold him to people that took him all the way to a different country, to Egypt. The future looked really bleak for Joseph. He was alone with no family in a place he didn't know at all. It sounds really scary. But Joseph decided to cling to God's promises for a better future. He knew that God's promises never ever fail, but sometimes they do take time. Do you know how long Joseph waited for God to keep the promises made to him? I want you to turn to your sibling or to someone in your family and tell them your guess. How many years did Joseph have to wait and be patient on God's promises to come true? What were some of your guesses? Well, Joseph waited 13 years. 13 years! Most of you aren't even 13 years old. As Joseph's circumstances just kept going from bad to worse, it would have been really easy to give up and think that God had forgotten about him. It took a very long time for the dreams that Joseph had to come true, but Joseph knew that God keeps his promises. Now we're going to dive into our Bible story for today, and if you want to open up your Bibles, it's in Genesis chapter 40 and chapter 45. Now I'm going to continue telling you the story of Joseph, but I have this paddle to help me out. See, when something really happy happens in this story, I'll show this smiley face. And I want you to match that and give me a big smile. If I turn it around and show you this sad face, I want you to give me the saddest face you can make, okay? I think you're ready. So, like I said last time, we learned about a guy named Joseph. His brothers had been really mean to him and then sent him away with traders to work for others in Egypt. It was really sad. So Joseph went to Egypt and began working for a very important man named Potiphar. Joseph was a good and trustworthy servant for Potiphar, and Potiphar trusted Joseph and put him in charge of everything in his home. That sounds pretty happy, right? Give me your greatest smile. But Potiphar's wife made up a story about Joseph that was not true, and he got put in prison. Oh. But God was with Joseph, even in prison. Joseph was given a position of trust by the prison guard and even helped interpret the dreams of some of the prisoners. Yay! After a while, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, had 2 dreams that he could not understand. Neither could any of his magicians, which is pretty sad, right? But one of the guys who worked for Potiphar remembered Joseph because they had met each other in prison. I know someone who can help, he told Pharaoh. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, which is a really great thing. Joseph told Pharaoh his dreams meant that they were going to have 7 good years and 7 very bad years. There would be no food in the land during the bad years, which is super sad. So Joseph told Pharaoh to save up extra food during the 7 good years so they have enough for the 7 bad years that would follow. Pharaoh did just that, and he got Joseph out of prison and gave him a very important job to do, which is very happy. During the 7 bad years, Joseph's family back home was hungry. They didn't have enough food to eat, which is sad. So Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to buy food. When they got there, they bowed down to the man in charge, which was Joseph. Joseph recognized them and forgave them for being mean to him a long time ago, which is very happy. After that, the whole family moved to Egypt, where Joseph could make sure they were well-fed and healthy, which is really great. It took some time, but God's promises came true. Joseph became someone his whole family and everyone in Egypt admired and looked up to. Just like he had dreamt a long, long time ago, things ended up really well for Joseph. And that brings us to our big idea for this week. Our big idea is that God keeps promises. Say that with me. God keeps his promises. We learned a lot about promises this month. We learned that God promises to fix what was broken back in creation, that God promised us mercy with Noah, that God's promises are for now and for later, and that God's promises might take time. But none of these are just empty words because God still keeps his promises. Now, let's check out our video for this week that's going to teach us even more about this awesome story.
Hi there, you chicken nuggets. It's me, Carl, and welcome to Grow TV.
Hey everybody, it's me, Cassie, and I'm super excited today because it's my birthday, and you know what that means.
What?
Come on, you know.
I don't.
Last year you forgot to buy me a present, and this year you said you were going to buy me something really great. Remember that, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Grow TV. Introducing your host, Carl, and your co-host, Cassie, where we learn, where we grow, and we talk about Jesus. Once again, welcome to Grow TV.
Hi, Cassie. So it's your birthday today.
Yep, but you already knew that.
Of course I did. Happy birthday.
Thanks. So what'd you get me?
Well, it's a surprise. Come in.
Why'd you yell that?
Someone ring the doorbell.
I didn't hear anything.
Well, your hearing must be getting worse with age, Cassie. You should go see who it is.
I don't know.
Who's it? Oh, someone's knocking.
All right, I'll go check.
Okay, everyone, I did not know it was her birthday, and I cannot not get her a gift again. It'll make me the worst friend ever. So we gotta make a gift.
Hey, I'll just do this.
There's no knocking outside. There's just that lady who's always screaming at the birds. What is this?
This? It's your surprise present.
My surprise?
Yep, be careful with it though. I spent a lot of money on it.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Just say thank you.
Thanks. Carl,
Yeah?
you forgot my birthday, didn't you?
What? No! No way did I forget your birthday. You're crazy. That's insane. No way did I forget your birthday. Okay, yeah, I did forget your birthday.
You didn't spend any money on this, did you?
I did buy the tape.
Listen, Carl.
No, Cassie, I'm sorry. I totally forgot. I know I promised I wouldn't forget, but I did. And I really tried.
Carl, it's okay.
What do you mean?
I knew you forgot, and I just want you to know it's okay. I actually kind of like the present.
Do you?
Sure. And to be honest, the promises I care about the most aren't the ones my friends make. It's the promises God makes, because you know they're always going to come true.
Always?
Always.
Always.
Yes, always. You remember Joseph? He was put in prison for something he didn't even do. But even in prison, God was still with him. Joseph had a gift of interpreting dreams, and one day Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, heard about it. Pharaoh asked Joseph to tell him what his weird dreams meant, and Joseph did. Joseph also gave him advice to plan ahead for the tough times coming, based on the dreams Pharaoh had. This impressed Pharaoh so much that he had Joseph taken out of prison and become second in command over all of Egypt. And then years later, his brothers, who thought he was dead, reunited with him and bowed at his feet.
Whoa, just like the dream he had when he was younger.
Yep, God kept the promises to Joseph, and God is keeping the promises to us now.
Like what kind of promises? Maybe I can get a promise and give it to you for your birthday.
That's nice of you, but everyone gets God's promises. It doesn't matter who you are. God's promises are for everyone.
All right, I knew that. Like, every time I clear my plate at dinner, I get dessert. And every time I eat dessert, I get really hyper.
I don't think any of those are promises God made. We can read the Bible to find real promises from God. Like Isaiah 41:10 tells us God promises to always be with us, so we don't have to be afraid. Matthew 6:33 says God promises to give us what is best for us when we put God first. And 1 John 1:9 says God promises to forgive us when we mess up.
Those are some awesome promises. God made all of them?
Yep, and not only does God make us promises, God keeps promises.
Can I promise you one thing right now?
Sure?
I promise I'm telling you the truth when I say, that's our big idea! Our big idea is God keeps promises.
So let's say it on the count of 3, okay?
Okay, 1,
2,
3. God keeps promises! Good job, everybody! Woohoo!
Thanks, Carl. Even though you forgot, you really made my day special.
Well, thanks for being understanding. I'm not very good at promises.
No worries. Plus, I ordered a cake for lunch, and I told them you'd pay for it. That's all right, right? See you next week, kiddos.
Thank you for watching, and tune in next week for a new episode of Grow TV.
Thanks for watching that with me. Now it is time for you and your family to have some discussion. So feel free to pause this video and talk through these questions together. Here is the first question that I want you guys to talk about together. What were the Pharaoh's dreams? What did they mean? What did he do about it? You can read Genesis chapter 45, verse 5. Joseph forgave his brothers. Why did he tell them to not be angry with themselves? Here's another question. What are some of God's promises? Here's another. Have you ever experienced a promise being kept? And then your last question for your discussion time is what helps you remember that God keeps promises? Awesome. I hope you had a great time talking about God's promises together with me. Now, this is the last week in this series all about God's promises. So my hope is that you have our memory verse actually memorized. Let's try it together. It's Joshua chapter 25, verse 45. It's not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled. Let's say it one more time together. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled. What a great reminder that God always keeps his promises to us. Will you pray with me? We love you, God. You are the God who keeps promises. Help us to remember that when things seem rough, that you are always there and you are always going to keep your promise. In your name I pray, amen. I'll see you guys here next week for our brand new series. See you then. Bye.